Hello and welcome back to the Open Resorcery. It's Devi, and today I am joined by my co-host Twisted,
Yo.
and we are going to be discussing crystal grids. So this is something that I think everyone that has had a rock collection has potentially done subconsciously. You just want to display them in a certain pattern, in a certain order, and it makes you feel good. Well, there can be purpose behind the placement. So I know you were digging up some stuff. So tell us what you found and let's discuss it.
Okay, so in me digging up some stuff, right? What is a crystal grid? Generally speaking, honestly, you go ahead and you take those nice little crystals in your good old rock collection, you put into a pattern, right? And when you go ahead and do so, it can be whatever shape you want, right? So it's pretty much two things, right? What is the physical shape you want for whatever intuitively feels correct, and or just like what shapes you like. If you're a square person, you put it in a square. If you like triangles, you put it in a triangle. If you like circles, you do that. If you like 5 or 6 or 7 point stars, you do that. But not only is it just like the physical formation of it, but it's also the intention behind it as well. That's paramount. It's a simple thing to put together in terms of just like the concept, the idea, but it comes down more so to like what you feel of yourself and actually doing. And I know that you can speak better to that than I can, Debbie, for sure.
Well, yes, and I'm going to state this outright. Crystal grids are much like feng shui in terms of feeling and intuition. It requires you to be understanding of yourself and to not be afraid to make a wrong decision. Okay? Just like not everyone is going to understand your decor in your home. That is for your eyes, that is for your understanding, that is for your enjoyment. Why are you trying to be correct according to somebody else? So with that, keep in mind what you like. Whenever you are creating this, first and foremost, if it's just for a visual pleasing, then do that. Have that be your center point. Maybe your purpose behind it is joy, and that's okay. We can do things for the purpose of joy. But if you are doing this for spell work, if you are doing this for a promotion of a certain energy within your home or room, or even protection of the home, I know you had brought up shapes. You can do this as the floor plan of your house and literally direct the energy through a crystal grid. How fucking cool is that? I think that's pretty fucking cool. So,
Oh, yeah.
with
And,
that, what were you going to say?
oh, well, you know what? Honestly, what came to mind is like, if you're talking about like doing like a floor plan, something like that, like, honestly, it literally just came to me. I didn't think of it before. Like, it kind of also works in the sense of like crystal grids being like, going ahead and setting up like, conductors, like crystals themselves being conductors, conducive energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going ahead and kind of create like a circuit board in a sense using your stones. If we're gonna make a
Exactly.
technology analogy and such.
Exactly. Because you are programming the energy of your space. You are dictating how things are going to move. Um, in fact, I don't know if anybody knows like shadow boxes and like frames that are sunken in, but I have been dying to make a few crystal grid shadow boxes to be able to hang up on the wall to be able to dictate the energy of a space overall. Um, so you can put it above a doorway, you can put it in a hallway, you can put it in a recess, which can kind of accumulate negative energy, and it's just always being recycled because you decided, fuck that. We're not going to have any kind of reservoir for negativity. We're not doing that. So you have to really pick a purpose for it. Pick a purpose, pick a placement. All right? So, overall, that is what we're starting with. Purpose and placement, right? For our rock
Yep.
collections.
Yep.
Because we all have them.
Yeah, well, do we all? Well, okay, I'll put it like this. Now, I guess I'm part of that all who has them in developing it, however long it's been. And definitely when it comes to crystals, that was something I dived into very much later in my own pathways and journey and such. But slowly but steadily, I'm getting more and more acquainted with them. I don't think I'll necessarily get to the degree of Devi anytime soon, or other people that we know and have come across, but I went ahead and checked it off the little checklist of all different spiritual sort of practices and trying them out or what have you. But yeah.
Hey, you seem pretty adventurous spiritually. You'll try anything once. It's okay. So, with that, what we can look at is maybe some example intentions. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So, say you are making one for your bedroom. What kind of energy do you want to promote in your bedroom? Do you want to promote peace and rest and possibly energy of the sexual kind? Couples exist. People sleep together. It happens. Do you want to invite romance? What do you want to invite into the space? And you keep that purpose in mind when you are selecting your stones. So for those purposes overall, what would you say would you use?
Okay, so if you're talking about for the bedroom, and if you're going ahead and doing it for love, and technically I think this would, if you're talking about romance in the bedroom, or I was actually initially thinking example wise of like even self-love, right? This would go ahead and these stones would go ahead and apply because it has to do with the Venusian archetype, the planetary archetype, and the deity, the figure of Venus itself. So that has to do with love and beauty and various other things, but it works hand in hand for either or intention. So whether it be for romantic love in the bedroom or self-love or all of it, just all together, general purpose, what I would go ahead and say is, now personally I went ahead and I referenced a book that I got a while back that I believe I've mentioned beforehand when talking about Blackstone energy cleanses and good old Blackstones and general sort of advisories for that particular practice and crystal basics overall. But I'll put a link in the YouTube posting and description for whoever wants to listen to that. But the book in of itself is Crystal Basics Pocket Encyclopedia by Nicholas Pearson, and this particular one has 450 listed gemstones. So, for those who have some sort of general idea about stones, like if you think like, love-based sort of things, whether with a partner or for oneself, you're likely going to think of rose quartz. That's a big duh. Or at least is a big duh to those who have at least a surface level understanding, right? In terms of what else you may go ahead and put, you can go ahead and put clear quartz, which is basically like the most general, hey look, it's adaptable to whatever intention that you program it towards, stone, and all of that. Now, this one being a little more so based on said reference material, or I'll say the next three or so. I have right here pink opal and emerald and pink tourmaline. Now, I mentioned rose quartz before, and that has correspondences based, on the book itself and a particular list in the back of it that is talking about how rose quartz is aligned with Venus in the heart chakra. So, for these stones right here, pink opal is associated with Venus, the planet Venus. Emerald is associated with the planet Venus and the heart chakra itself. So we want to make sure that we go ahead and get some nice good old warm feels there and associate it properly with that. And emeralds, they aren't necessarily the cheapest stones, you could say. So if you want to get a little fancy with it, then might as well, right? and pink tourmaline. That is associated with the heart chakra in particular. So those three right there, I would say, they're pretty much good bets if you're wanting to go ahead and construct one just based off like general associations. And then for me, I guess you could say that isn't necessarily particularly listed as anything in that book or just whatever. I went ahead and put down turquoise because that just seems like a optimal stone to use for whatever intention or purpose overall and all that sort of thing. As stated within the book and just my own general gnosis and comprehension understanding of the stone thus far. What would you go ahead and use for this sort of thing, Debbie? Whether it's, more so conventional or even more so of your own particular stone and crystal choices.
No, and here's the funny part. For myself, rose quartz wouldn't work.
No,
It would not.
you
It
don't
would
agree with
not.
that for that,
Um,
or at least in
not
terms
for
of
me.
your own grids.
Not in terms of my own grids. And this is where I am going to continue saying, use your intuition. You have to be intuitively in yourself and being able to listen to it in order to get this to work the way that you need it to. Intuition doesn't have to be, the little conscious voice on the inside. It can literally just be a feeling or a want or a desire. Do that. That's fine. But for me, for promoting self-love and all of that kind of thing, first one is going to be obsidian. And that's probably the most wild out there thing that you can think of, because that is a black stone. That is black volcanic glass. And it is more so about grounding and protection and, removal of bad energies than anything. But truly, if we are to get to self-love, to me, that makes the most sense.
Oh yeah, you gotta get rid of the
Negativity has to be surgically cut
Yep,
away in order
that's what
to
I was just
get
about to
there.
say.
Exactly. And so, like, for me, makes absolute sense there. My next one would be rubies. So rubies are very much up there in terms of typically price, but it has been seen as passion and prosperity and also protection. It is supposed to be this equivalent to like a phoenix flame kind of thing. And with the ruby itself and the richness of that energy, and I really feel like that is a very appropriate word, like the richness of it.
Yes.
Having that with the intention of self-love or love in general or romance in general, that is going to get very deep very quickly. And as everyone will know, like, I am not a small talk kind of person.
No,
I
not at
hate
all.
that shit. No, God, no. I think you know that by now.
Do I?
But,
Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Of course I do. But
well, yes. Give me depth or give me nothing. But, like, it seriously, talking to me, I don't do small talk. I will get right to the point. If there's something wrong, I'm just like, tell me about it. So I prefer full force, absolute depth at all times. But in order to counteract that, my next stone would be pearls. And now I know there is a little bit of drama about the pearl choice, because a lot of people see them as like unethical and like you're stealing from the ocean and things like that. Cool. Awesome. Source them ethically then. But for me, pearls is a really big one, and pearls is a call to innocence. It is a call to a childlike visage. It is very much the best way I could describe it is clean. Pearls to me represent being clean. And just how they make me feel. And definitely like focus and mental clarity and all of these things. And a lot of relaxation. But overall, while those might not necessarily be your particular mix for promoting self-love or love in general or romance in general, for me, those are huge because those make sense. And so as much as Twisted or I can sit here and be like, for this purpose, this is what you should use. For this purpose, this is what you should use. It is really going to depend on you as a person. Just like we all have individual fingerprints and, quite frankly, individual birth charts dependent on, what you're reading, no two people are really going to be absolutely the same.
Oh yeah, and if you don't
mind
me,
if you have to listen to yourself.
Oh yes, and to continue backing on that point, if you don't mind me jumping in, like I'm referencing one book here in regards to like correspondences and associations, but there's a plethora of books out there, including the a book about crystals. I forget the particular title, but it's by one of your favorite authors, Scott Cunningham. And that right there may have different correspondences. I don't necessarily have in front of me, but, if you go ahead and look at the reference tables and so on, or the individual lists of stones in there, it could have different ones that are recommended. Or, if you want to go ahead and take it from an astrology perspective, right? Like, if you're looking at, all right, so Venus, whether it's self-love or the initially stated, wanting to get romance in the bedroom or whatever, for just our example here, right? Of trying to stick with the Venusian theme, then, you could go ahead and look at your birth chart and see, all right, what exact sign is my Venus in? And then you can go ahead and look to, all right, say, for example, your Venus is in Leo or Sagittarius or Aries, any of the fire signs or whatever. And you can look for a particular stone, whether if it's just by referencing a book or maybe just general color association of fire, like, red or orange or whatever, and go ahead and be like, what, I'll put that on the grid. And if that feels right, if that feels appropriate, and more so customizing personally, go on ahead. We went ahead and we've shared, several examples thus far of, you can say, like, basic sort of like stuff or personal customization, but it's up to you as the person picking and selecting and choosing and constructing this crystal grid for yourself and such. So allow for that intuitiveness, allow for the creativity to go ahead and flow through you in designing it.
Let the muses speak.
Oh yes, of course. Especially since we're talking about Venus, of all different planetary archetypes and such.
Absolutely. But yes, so in the picking of the stones, we understand intuition. Now, the shaping of the grid itself. And this is where I'm also going to ask, are you using this as a summoning for an entity? Are you using this for a specific kind of energy? Sacred geometry can definitely be tied into this very, very easily. You can literally go off of creating your grid on the flower of life. Like, you can do that. Super easy. Ta-da. Are you going off of potentially, like you were saying, with angels and things like that? Okay. Use their sigil.
Oh yes, you
line
definitely could.
The crystals up with their sigils. And that could be a way for you to kind of ground that energy in your space if that is what you want to do. And this is why knowing your purpose behind it is the most important thing. And I am going to keep going back to that and keep hammering that point home because I am also a broken record. So.
Oh yes. As I know, I can definitely be, for those who may have listened to my previous conversations with Devi here or one of my monologues on other different topics and such. But
Indeed.
yeah. So, then you were saying, like, going ahead and like constructing a crystal grid if you're trying to summon a entity or what have you, right? Um,
Yes.
and you could do it for like angels or archangels, right? Now for me, like once you have the formation, right, of what you want to construct, so you have the overall shape and whatever your centerpiece is going to be, right? Then of course whatever the outer layer and the rims are of that, of whatever shape it may be, whether it's a basic shape or you want to go with a star formation or whatever it might be. Then, of course, connecting pieces in between, so whatever those may happen to be, and making sure that all that's taken care of. But once you got the actual physical structure done, once you know what the heck it is that you're going ahead and trying to do, you gotta charge the damn thing. So, in that sort of
Indeed.
yep. So in that sort of regard, in charging it, right? I will go ahead and recommend one thing before I go ahead and pass it back to you. Of if it's associated with a planetary archetype of your intention. So we've been going on about Venus for our example of romance in the bedroom or self-love or even both combined. That if you're going to try to go ahead and do it for the planetary archetype of Venus, what day is associated with Venus? That's going to go ahead and be Friday. So while you could honestly do it on any day of the week for the intention, it's probably going to be more so optimal that you plan to do it on a Friday of charging it by whatever means that you wish to go ahead and do so. And of course, for other intentions and purposes aligned with whatever other days and such, then you follow suit with that. But just sticking with this example of Venus and Friday and all of that, right? What would you go ahead and say about charging them and just like methods and means that you would recommend for that, Debbie?
Can be done in a plethora of different ways. So one of them would be like singing to them, speaking your intention into them, and your intention being the charging point. It could literally be you wearing the stone, or taking turns with all of the stones and manually charging them by your proximity. Um, it could be you laying them out to charge either on new moon or full moon. Guess what? Both of them work. Um, Heck, all the phases of the moon technically work. It just depends on what energy you're trying to pull from. If you're trying to create something new, go for the new moon. If you are trying to like release an intention out into the world, go for the full moon. Do what you do. I ain't judging. Um, and then like there's everything in between. Making something grow, waxing, making something leave, go with waning. Makes sense, right?
Oh yes, and
So,
I know that you've covered it before a while ago about the moon and each of its phases and like the general like purposes or themes or whatever. Of course, if you're listening on the YouTube posting of this, well, there will be a link in the description. But yes, you can go ahead and use the moon as well, and dependent on the type of stones you're using, if it is appropriate, because each crystal's ability to survive with this sort of energy varies, but solar energy as well. Going ahead and having it charged from the good old, grand old, brightly shining sun and all that sort of thing. But as I know,
yes.
I particularly covered when talking about the Blackstone energy cleanse before, that once again, like there is going to be a variance of for each stone whether it is good to leave out in sunlight and solar radiation energy. So this is where further research and understanding and acquaintance, knowing what stones you're working with, is very important and all of that. So
Indeed. And just as a huge asterisk disclaimer, just because the stone is aspected with the sun, such as citrine, does not mean that it can go in direct sunlight. Direct sunlight will literally bleach the stone back to a clear quartz. Don't do that.
Oh yes, not only just for functionality, but you want to make sure that it looks pretty damn good. You want to make sure that it's having whatever luscious colors are associated with it that you originally get it in. So stone,
Luscious?
yeah, luscious, or just generally aesthetically good, pretty, or whatever terms you want to go ahead and associate with it. I don't know why I thought of luscious, but that just happens to work.
I cannot. Wow. That is not a descriptor that I would use for a stone. Um, like, you know what? Do your thing. I ain't judging you. I am gonna giggle though. So
But yeah, so like we and not only just for function but also aesthetics as well. So once again, be careful, be cautious, and I believe, uh, in terms of cleansing, and it may be a way of charging as well, like maybe using running water of some sort. But depending on the hardness and other factors, that's something also you have to be careful with when it comes to crystals and gemstones, in terms of whether it's for crystal grids or whatever purposes or means that you wish to use them for.
yes. So just as like big asterisk, because I'm mom and this is what I do. Don't put tiger's eye in water because it releases asbestos into the water, because tiger's eye and asbestos are close together whenever they are mined up, so don't do it. Calcite will melt in water, so don't do that either. That's not great. Let's see, don't put selenite in water because selenite is literally a salt crystal formation. Don't do that either. But don't lick it. It's not that kind of salt. Don't do that either.
No, it doesn't taste
Let's
good.
see. The structure is not one for consumption.
Well, yeah,
I
I figure.
don't necessarily fully remember it outright, but it is a type of salt. Just because it is a salt does not mean it is for consumption. Don't
Oh
do that.
yes.
Amethyst will bleach in the sun. Just, you have to make sure that the way that you are charging them is appropriate. If your stones can take heat, run them through smoke, charge them with a candle, and that doesn't mean like actually running them through the fire. You don't have to like run them through the fire. That's not required. But just the heat of the fire can be like a cleanser or a charger, depending on what you're doing. I like to charge things with little chime candles because it makes sense for me, but that is completely dependent on what you're doing. In terms of other ways to charge them, what you got?
Honestly, like you ran the gamut quite a bit, and while there may be other ways, we don't need necessarily just deep dive into every single possible way. Just for me, and you mentioning you're a broken record, and me knowing I'm a broken record, something I mentioned rather often is going ahead and doing a manner of invocation with assistance from some sort of being, whether it be an angelic one, a deity, some sort of god or goddess, even elementals, whatever it may be that you're interacting with that may be associated with your intention and whatever your use case is for the crystal grid. So, and our example we've been using throughout this conversation, for Venus, for romantic love in the bedroom, self-love, any and or all of that, then what comes to mind for me, at least in the angelic realm, is Archangels Haniel, who is associated with Venus. And if we're going for, just good times, whether it's with a partner or for yourself in that self-love, I'd go ahead and say Jophio, which I don't believe has a Venusian association, but it's just one of those, I guess you can say, personal sort of gnosis things that I've just been like, you know what? This happens to work for this particular intention. Now, when we're talking about Venus itself, right, and Devi mentioned before of summoning a deity with a crystal grid or whatever, right? If you're making one associated to Venus, Why not Venus themselves? Or in the Greco-Roman, well, it's Greco-Roman overall, but the Greek titling, the Greek name that they go by, Aphrodite. And of course, if we're going to go ahead and take it all the way back to the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, then you got yourself Inanna or Ishtar. And those are just several sorts of examples that you could go ahead and use in relation to the Venusian planetary archetype. But, of course, it is up to you to determine which entities that you are familiar with, that you are comfortable in interacting with, who resonates or clicks with you. I could use all different terminology and verbiage, but if you got one that you like and they line up with your intention, whether it's the example we've given or another one, then go for it if it feels appropriate. So outside that, I don't really have any other examples of ways to charge a crystal grid. But of course, those listening, go ahead and do your research or whatever comes to you intuitively. Run with it. Don't doubt yourself. So,
I mean, you could charge it with your own sexual energy, just saying, but that's also, just having the stone on your person. But I didn't say that.
yeah.
That would never be appropriate.
No, not at all. not one bit, not a smidge, not a tad.
Not ever.
No,
not in this society. How dare you? How very unchaste.
Wait, hold up. Not in this society. I thought we were having an era of sexual liberation. What is this, like the Victorian era, or like the 19th century or something? Are we in a Puritan society?
I think we got thrown back there in the last couple of months, possibly. Possibly.
Well, who knows?
Possibly. Oh my goodness.
But in any case, yes, you could go ahead and use sexual energy to charge it, especially for the particular Venusian purposes. But outside of that little detour right there, do you got anything else in relation to crystal grids, Devi, that you think is important to get off the cranium, get off the dome, and share?
Not necessarily. My advice really it stays the same with follow your gut, follow your intuition, pick your purpose, and from there you're making a physical manifestation of your purpose in your crystal grid. So if something doesn't feel right, listen to it. But other than that, I think we've run the gamut. I think we've done what we needed to do, and I hope you guys have fun creating. And yeah, so this has been Devi and Twisted on the Open Rare Sorcery, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Stay frosty, Neguses. Peace.